We've all come across the news at some point in recent months, and it can be difficult to find anything worth being positive or excited for. And for those that read the news daily, it can even be depressing at times. Um, a few months back, I had a roommate who just never had anything positive to talk about or say to me. Whenever I would come across, whenever we would cross paths, and he would always have something negative. He is either happening to himself personally or something negative that he was reading about in politics or something. It was just almost always. It was never something like, hey, what's positive happening, what's something that's good that's happening in your life or that you've seen. It was always something negative. And while I can understand that there's a lot of bad things that happen in the world, it's almost impossible for there to not be anything worth being positive over. So that's kind of the big question I would like to ask for this week's episode, this week's podcast. Why do we tend to focus on the bad events or the bad news, these negative events, over the good things that happen in this world? Why do we focus on the bad things over the good things?
Well, thinking about it, and again, stop me if I'm wrong, seems to me like it's based on our emotions, right? For us, looking from my point of view, living in a modern society, life is very monotonous. We just talked about it, right? That we almost living, in this circadian system where we have the routine and like everything kind of almost blends, one day to another. Just because we are doing, and most of the time, we are doing just about the same thing every single day. And so what usually sticks out, what hits us the hardest, our little souls nowadays, right? Because unfortunately, we are not as strong as we used to be. It's usually the negative things, right? They always kind of stick out the most. So even though we don't want to really focus on the negative things, we actually do unintentionally. And even though they are positive things, it just it almost like if I can illustrate it, right? It's like derailing the train, right? When the train stays in the tracks and it goes the right direction, like every single day does, then it's good. But when something happens and that train gets derailed, even for a little bit, it just sticks out so much. And because we are not, again, we are living in the modern society, and most of us, at least in the Western world, living in a very comfortable, right life, provided with most of the things what we need, and we are very, very protected, very much against danger and diseases and deaths, majority of our lives. So we're not as strong as we used to be like 100 years ago. Therefore, even the smallest thing, it feels like it's like, wow, this is bad. And is that just a perception? Not really. It is, so negative, those events in our life. But just it feels like. What do you think? And you can look at your life. Does it feel kind of the same way?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I circle back a little bit because you brought about like the circadian rhythm and things being different, and that different thing kind of derails this routine. That's true. I definitely understand that, but also there could be positive things that also kind of break up the routine as well. You might get some shocking news. This week I got my passport, early after the a supposedly long application process, but it wasn't long. It was actually only 2.5 weeks, right? And that took me by surprise, right? So you can have positive events like that, but I see where you were kind of getting though, with, that we're living in a society that's a lot more, I don't want to say, I'll say it, softer. And so when these slight pains, these slight disturbances happen, it can be very, very painful to look at anything else other than just that. That's kind of my stance on that.
Yeah, I would use an additional story to illustrate the thing. I remember when I got back from the ranger school after 2.5 months, and Rangers, Army, U.S. Army Ranger School, they just testing your strength, your mental strength, physical as well, but majority is the mental strength. And they use anything possible in this course to test your strength, your toughness to the limit, right? Sleep deprivation, limited food, pretty much zero privacy, pushing yourself physically to the limit, just taking you out of the comfort box, and they put you to the worst case scenario. And let's see how you can deal with that. And I remember when I got back to the course, even the smallest things, even the things which we consider as like, well, it's nothing unusual, like sitting in a sofa, just sitting in the sofa for 5 minutes, or going to refrigerator and pulling out the food of my choice. It's the small things like that, right? Or just being around with loved ones. It just felt like almost like a heaven, right? Something like I never felt before. And just because there was so much suffering before, and now I was provided with the relief, right? With the opposite. And I think that's what, again, what we are missing in our lives. Because, and again, we are, I don't want to say spoiled, but we are pretty getting close to that. If you eat sugary food every single day, right, then that extra spoon of the sugar not going to make any difference, right?
Right.
Because you already been provided with all that sweet stuff every single day. So you got additional sweet stuff, additional 5 donuts or additional 2 pieces of the cake. It's not going to make any difference. It's just going to feel like, well, okay, just all right. But if you're going to be denied, one sweet meal on that particular day, that's going to just be like, oh, God almighty, that feels horrible, right?
Right.
Or if suddenly you're going to, instead that sweet donut, you would get, I don't know, 3 pickles instead for the meal. Think like, God almighty, this is bad, right? Just again, we just been accustomed so long, to have it so good, that having additional good stuff, not going to notice that much. However, if something deviates from that sweet life and it's a little painful, it's just going to stick out like a sore thumb. Yeah. So
I gotta ask, so do you think we're becoming too obsessed with news and politics, that it shapes our daily thoughts, actions, and beliefs? Do you think we're maybe becoming like hyper focused on things that we're not 100% in control of, rather than actually focusing more on our personal lives?
I think we do. I think we do. The social media makes it much, much easier. Nowadays we can just see the things just as they happen, which 20 plus years ago was impossible. Right? Something happens, and a few minutes later we know it already. It's going to pop out on our screen, on our phone, our computer, with all the details, pictures, sometimes even a live coverage. So yeah, we are definitely oversaturated with the news. And again, a lot of news, I don't want to say by intent, but unfortunately that's how they are negative.
Yeah.
There is just only very few positive things. It makes me think sometimes that, the companies who provide the news, of course, they have psychologists, working for them as well, to provide every direction how to catch attention of the listener.
Right.
But they probably say like, "Hey guys, let's go with the negative, because that's going to get us more people sitting and listening." So I mean, that's yeah.
The negative can also make people even sometimes kind of angry, to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, I read the headline and then I have to see what the rest of it, this article says.
Well,
right?
it does make you angry, right?
Yeah.
There is no way around it. If you're going to see something negative, it's going to make you angry. It's again, I don't want to say it's manipulation of the people, but it almost seems to like the news are trying to manipulate the people to a certain direction. Yeah. So and again, it could be by design, but I mean, God Almighty, like any company, any bigger company, right? They have psychologists working for them, just in the sake, to get the customers, right? How to reach the customers. Advertisement industry, right? They're working with psychologists because they're helping them, hey, how we can get attention, the largest segment of the population to buy our product, right?
Right.
And so a lot of companies, they do that. I don't say, that the social medias, of course, those singletons, they don't, of course, but big companies, they do that. And for the singletons, for us, like we are affected by, unfortunately, those big conglomerates, and then we repeat that in our own lives on the social medias and so on. So that's one thing. The second thing is, it's been said many times, it is always harder to work on your own problems, and it's easier to to bicker and talk about somebody else's problems, right?
Right.
So yeah, exactly. And so it's very much natural that we are trying to focus kind of on the things outside. Like, yeah, I cannot deal with my own issues. Well, let's say, for example, I have problem. Let's go back to the food. I got problem with the overeating. I'm obese and I cannot control myself, and it's really depressing. And I always eat, and I always go to the refrigerator and check out for some food, and I pull it out and eat it, even though I'm not supposed to. Control myself. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to stop thinking about it, because there is nothing I can do about it, but I'm going to focus on the situation in the United States, on the politics. And I'm going to be, criticizing and bickering about it and pointing the finger and telling everybody, like, we should do this and we should do that. And it's going to make me feel better at the end. Right?
Right.
So
it's kind of like a way
it's very
put your attention on something else, right? Instead of actually focusing on the problems at home, you like to, put a blind eye on it and look at something different.
Yes. So we're not supposed to do that. It's written in the Bible. Jesus Christ said it. Stop focusing on a problem of your neighbor and focus rather on your own issues. Yeah. Do not focus on a neighbor and telling him, hey, pull out a splinter from your eye. Focus on the beam, on the log, which is logged, in your own eye. And then once you fix your own issues, then you can maybe help the others and focusing on that. So this is from the Bible. And we kind of walked away from that because, again, we are the humans, right? We always are inclined to do wrong things rather than good things. The good things takes a lot of hard work. The wrong things are just easy. It's just a slippery slope. What we can do about it, right? Let's get that on a positive note. How we can fix the whole issue? Well, the one thing which I mentioned at the beginning about our angel school, like after the hardship, after the pain, I really enjoy the good things, even the smallest things. So maybe we should be a little bit harder on ourselves. And of course, for different person is a different way. For me, for example, it's the physical work, right? It's either I, go to the gym, I work out, or do something outdoors physically, or just the physical work, as a job, right? Just do something which I have to struggle a little bit, put a little bit of sweat and pain into that, and the focus, and really something which makes me tired. And after that period of time, when I come out of it, and I noticed that I really enjoy the things much better. When I finish the workout and I take the shower, I feel like I'm newborn. I feel like turning on TV. Oh man, this is awesome. Now I'm just, I finished a couple hours of this blood and sweat, and now I'm just relaxing and watching TV or sitting, again in the sofa, and just like everything feels so great, right? So that's would be one thing. Like each of us should experience every day something harder, not as part of the job, but something kind of outside of this regular, monotonous
routine,
circadian box, routine box, That's the one thing. And second thing is, and that goes back to the Christianity. We need to listen what God told us, what His Son Jesus Christ told us, because even though it seems kind of old-fashioned and something which doesn't apply really to our lives, it does. God's teachings are timeless. What worked 2,000 years ago works today as well. So when Jesus Christ told us, stop focusing on other people's problems, because you will not be able to change it anyway.
Right.
Most of the time, right? Focus on your own problems. Look how hard it is to remove that beam from your own eye. Look how hard it is to fix your own personal issues. How successful do you think you're going to be with your neighbors, your friends, or the other guy, or somebody who is living in Washington, D.C.? How successful are you going to be to fix their problems? Probably 0.0, right?
Right.
You cannot fix your own issues. How you can, if how you can believe that you can fix somebody else's problem, 1,000 miles away? You will not. So again, focus on your own issues more. I mean, it's impossible to completely shut down from the news. I got it. It's no question about it. But let's try to focus more on our own issues, our own personal issues, fix our own problems. We got more than plenty, each of us. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah. And I definitely agree with that. We definitely, again, we put a lot of focus and examination on other people's problems instead of our own. I just wanted to kind of give one other slight solution. You mentioned about that sort of adding discomfort, right, into that routine. I remember my was actually my priest that I used to go to at church, and one of the things he mentioned was to put a rock in your shoe, right? And how it kind of provides this, it's not
Yeah.
comfortable.
Uh-huh.
It hurts, but it's
Yeah.
not like it's like
Uh-huh.
super painful. But it's a slight discomfort. But it's that slight discomfort that's almost kind of like a reminder, right? That when something does actually happen, you almost want to savor it, right? When something good happens, it really just takes you out almost from that
Yeah.
discomfort, that pain. And so, yes, having some pain in your day, right, in your daily routine, that
Mhm.
is, it's not something that's just really quick, but something that's a little bit longer, right? That can actually oftentimes put you on this path where when something good does happen in that routine, right, it takes you away from that discomfort and you start really valuing and savoring those good
You are
things.
100% right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Still got a little bit more time. I remember one of the first episodes. I don't know which one was that, but it was at the beginning. We talked about the life is painful.
Mm-hmm.
Life is a struggle.
Right.
But it has a purpose. It has God-given a purpose. Yeah, so this is it. This is it. Because there is a reward for that struggle. If we really struggle, we enjoy the good things
Mm-hmm.
in our lives. If we don't struggle, we don't. And that's the whole meaning behind it, that life, it's supposed to be painful. It's supposed to be struggle right from the beginning, like even a small baby. Small baby, when is born, right, and they pull the baby out of the mother's womb, what's the very first thing what a baby does? Start crying,
Right.
right? Because that's the first time the baby breathes on its own.
Right.
Because before it was in mother's womb, the oxygen was provided, right, by the mother.
Mm-hmm.
But when baby is out, now it has to breathe on its own, and that's painful, right? And that's why, when a baby doesn't cry, doctors or nurse, they slap the baby a little bit just to give it impulse to baby, right, to start crying. Because when it starts crying, it will start breathing, right? So, yeah, it has a purpose. The pain, struggle, it has a purpose. And it's a good purpose, get us to the heaven. That's most important, but also help us to enjoy the every small good thing in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well, that's it for this week. In the next episode, we'll talk about why God allows hardship to exist in this world, kind of building off of this episode that we talked about. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to us as we may answer them in a future episode. We'd appreciate it if you could follow us on all social media. And until next week, thanks for listening. Take care and God bless.
Speed.